Welcome to Sunday Morning Quarterback with Jay Stockwell and Bob Frady.
Good morning, UB. How are you? This is what victory feels like, apparently.
Listen, it's a good morning. Congratulations to the team. It's nice to see. Let's not get too excited. It was Northern Illinois.
They beat Boston College, and Boston College took number 3 Florida State to the mat last night. So
yeah, but given that logic, Stockwell, Colorado State would have beaten Nebraska by 20. That logic doesn't work.
Here's the thing. So
if you have a green popsicle and green popsicles just eat blue popsicles, then green popsicles just defeat all popsicles. It doesn't work that way.
The story of this game is the defense, right? So let's do the Husker Max 2-minute drill here, right?
Okay.
On the stats.
The story of this game is how long did it take for Nebraska fans to finally breathe? Because there was no breathing in the first half.
So here's the deal. Stats. 149 yards we held them to, just 26 yards rushing. The defense looked amazing, right? And then Heinrich really surprised me. Like, the guy can throw the ball, and he's 6'5", 215 pounds, and he runs really, really tough, and he doesn't turn the ball over. Now, there was a turnover. I agree. There was a turnover for sure. And but the team responded well. The defense came in, held them just to 3 points. So very, very happy with the team.
And who had a touchdown? Who did I tell you would have a good game? Who had a touchdown?
Tom Spadoni.
Correct.
Right? Yes.
Spadoni was
good
on
call,
point.
Bob. Good call. Good call, UB. There was also 3 sacks for 27 yards. And a noticeable drop in penalties, which was fantastic. I caught the coach's press conference, and what he was really pleased with is 95 yards rushing in the fourth quarter to put the game away.
What? They just ran the ball? Oh, why would they do such a thing when they have such a clever play caller? It's like run the ball. So maybe that's his plan. He tries to do all the fancy passes and then run the ball in the fourth quarter. Although if we had done that against Minnesota, we'd have the second victory of the season, not the first. So it's like, I think they're finally getting a better feel for this team. You know, as a fan, and I'm not a coach, I'm not an expert in football, but as a fan, people from Nebraska really seem to like pounding the rock. It's like, pound it. And, you know, you get too fancy and everyone's like, no. If you want to run an option, you run an option play, not an RPO, but an option. Like, okay, I'm going to pitch it this way or I'm going to run that way. Pretty much it. And I think they're fine. It's in this, listen, that's 90s. That's the great Nebraska time. Is that the kind of offense that you want now? Oh, I would say yes, because you know what? A lot of people don't play it, so it's hard to prepare for. So
that is Matt. That is what Matt Rhule's been talking about. Just that's the kind of team he wants to build. And I think he's hitting all the right notes in terms of like just build it slowly, build it correctly. Talking about how he loves this process. I heard Satterfield earlier in the week talking about Rhule coming into the office. He said, "Hey guys, we get to coach at Memorial Stadium this weekend. Just like a little pep in their step. 2 more home games, and we got Michigan coming to town in 2 weeks. By the way, UB, what is the plan?"
Hey,
Michigan.
Listen, I'm driving across the country that week. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it down to Lincoln, but we'll see. We'll just see. We shall see.
Well, no, we got to plan ahead there, UB.
Yeah, I know we have to plan ahead. So we'll. I'm not committing right now. It's 8:00 in the morning on a Sunday. I'm not committing. My commitment switch is turned off.
What do you mean you're driving? I thought you were taking a. You know what?
No. It's smarter to drive. I have to go to Arizona next weekend for Parents' Weekend for my daughter. And so we're already 6 hours there. We might as well just finish. That way we'll have a car when we get there. Well, by the way, you don't have to pick us up at the airport. So,
got it. Plus it saves you a little dough.
Yeah. So as a guy who's going into a job where he's not being paid, it's a pretty good idea to save some dough.
So, all right. So you're
willingly.
But the thing is, we got to plan ahead. We got to get the tickets. We got to tell the network down there what's going on.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
Okay, I would like to give a shout out to Huntmaker on defense.
Yeah, boy,
that guy But it's hilarious watching him. He's 6'4", 330, but he wears number 0. So he looks like this really weird safety. It's like, who's this safety playing in the middle of the line? And you realize he's a freaking giant and all over the ball. Did a fantastic job. Fedoni on offense was great, but really the key to the game, special teams. Special teams did another fantastic job. Down the ball inside the 5-yard line, sets up the second touchdown. Fantastic job. Good 3-way game. But there were two things I was thinking about this game. First is that Laporte, the quarterback for Northern Illinois, is 25 years old and in his 7th year of college.
No, his last name it's not Laporte. It's
whatever it is. Rocky.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, Rocky.
No. It's a famous football name.
Lombardi.
What's the guy?
Lombardi.
Rocky there Lombardi. You go.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Rocky Lombardi. Rocky Lombardi's a comedian. Sorry. Rocky Lombardi is in his 7th year of college, and all I could think of was Bluto and Animal House saying 7 years of college down the drain. And I was like, so he's 25 years old. What's he doing out there?
Yeah.
How can you last for 7 years? I mean, God bless the NCAA, but when you're letting 25-year-olds play, unless they went off to war or something like that and then came back, it's just like, holy cow. So that's number one.
Speaking of special teams, Brian Buschini, 6 punts for an average of 43 yards. So you're right. That phase of the game never gets talked about as much and critically important. And so what's emerging here in the Rhule Era
why special teams? Hold on. You know why special teams never gets love? Because it's the plumbing of football. It's like it's the sewer system of football. It's like your stars. A lot of times they don't play. It's just a bunch of guys that are like, Arr! They get out there and they play, and then they don't get much credit, and they run as fast as they can, and other people running as fast as they can. It's freaking dangerous, and it's plumbing. It's like when's the last time you looked at a house and go, wow, this house has a really excellent sewer system? It's like no one ever looks at it, but if it has a terrible sewer system, you pretty much don't want to buy that house. So congratulations to the special teams. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about is how long did it take for Nebraska fans to breathe in that game?
Yeah.
First series out, second series touchdown. All right, next series, fumble on the 5-yard line.
And I actually, it was cool to see Rhule show a little bit of emotion on the sidelines too. I mean, he was angry after that fumble, but then the defense response was just unbelievable. They came in and they just, held them to a field goal, and that's a little bit of adversity they overcame.
Yeah, that was a good sign when they did that.
So 2 phases of the game are looking pretty darn good right now, special teams and defense.
Yep.
So looking ahead here, we've got Louisiana Tech next week, and then not too far after that, we got the big dogs coming in, Michigan.
Here's
you think
the
we'll
thing,
be ready?
Stockwell. I'm still on my 8-4 track. The Big Ten West is horrible. This is winnable. It's like this is 8-4 country. So you tweak the offense a little bit. You start to figure some things out, and then who are you playing? You're playing Purdue, playing Maryland. You're playing Illinois. You're playing Iowa. Although Iowa finally scored 40 points in the game, which is great. Good for them. I think the coach gets a bonus for scoring that many points. It's like it's not a strong schedule, so except for Michigan. So why not? Why not?
Let's look down the list here. So Michigan, obviously, and I'm actually somewhat optimistic about that, right?
Okay, so we got Louisiana Tech. We'll have the potential wins, and we'll have this potential, bad outcome. So Louisiana Tech potential win. Who's next? Michigan. Potential bad outcome. Okay, who's next?
Okay, Illinois. At Illinois. Oh, you're putting it in the win column. But
I'm not putting it in the potential win column.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right there. Their defense is looking a little suspect. Remember how good they were last year?
Keep going.
Then it's Northwestern and Purdue at home. Okay. Then at Michigan State. Michigan State all of a sudden is looking, they got slaughtered, didn't they, yesterday?
Yep.
And then Maryland at home. then at
Okay,
Wisconsin.
I don't have any extra fingers.
Then Iowa. So look, I think your point is good defense, good special teams, a really solid performance by Heinrich Haarberg, less penalties. So what's emerging here under Matt Rhule is this something we haven't seen in a long time. And that's called discipline. As a lifelong fan, that is pretty awesome to see. Another thing, the open field tackling was fantastic and has been throughout the season. So that's really encouraging as well.
Get your hands around the idea that Sims is going to be back in there at some point. It was nice seeing him on the sideline, helping Haarberg to calm down a little bit, just breathe and calm down. And he played, much better after that. He's going to be back in there. These guys play an almost reckless style of offense where the quarterback is a running back. And he took some hits yesterday.
Yeah,
but
he also delivered some. He also delivered some.
Oh yeah. He's listen, no doubt. But that's just a situation where you've got an injury waiting to happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. It's a big, strong kid, but gosh, get out of bounds a little bit more. And the other thing is, they didn't force him into a lot of weird throws. Most of his throws were really intermediate, and he put it on a string, which is great. Didn't loft it up there. They had one deep ball that was way off, but it was, good. He played great. They won the game. Congratulations. Hooray. Play the theme song.
The ball security was impressive. So, really just a tidy performance by the Huskers. And, we're optimistic going forward. Now, I just going back to the very first podcast, Bob, I did call the first two losses, and I changed the Colorado thing to a victory. That was wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very solidly on my 7-5 track. But you're right. There's a potential for
I remain optimistic. I think that they played a little bit better each game, and you know what? That's all you can ask for. Maybe it's the level of competition. Who knows? But they play a little bit better each game. And that's all you really want from a team, especially with a new coach first year. I mean, next year, all bets are off once UCLA and USC come in, because both of those teams would beat everybody in the Big Ten West this year, including Michigan. So it's amazing that the Pac-12 is going out of business. They're having like one of those "everything must go" signs. You see a building sometimes, it's like "everything must go." It's like that's the Pac-12. Basically, including Oregon State and Washington State, who are kicking everybody's butt. I'm like, Oregon State's it's like, talk about left at the altar. That's like the maddest bride left at the altar ever. It's like, maddest groom left at the altar ever. They're out there destroying they're crushing everything. So it'll be an interesting year. It'll be a fun season because there's no dominant team. Georgia had its troubles yesterday. Alabama barely beat USF, for crying out loud. It's or UCF or whichever UF it is. There's like 12 of them. I can't keep them all straight. They should have a division of football called State Colleges of Florida, because there's like 300 of them, and then you can just put them in there and they can all play each other. So let's take a little tour around the top 25. So LSU looks amazing here. Yeah, they looked good yesterday.
41-14. Boston College nearly takes down Florida State 31-29. Illinois, there's Illinois 30 to Penn State 30-13. So you're right. Illinois is looking a little vulnerable. Missouri takes down Kansas State. That was
on a 61-yard field goal.
Yeah.
You ever try to kick a field goal, Stockwell?
Yeah, I was a kicker.
How far could you kick it?
I could kick on the kickoffs. I could put it in the end zone. The longest field goal I ever made was like 38 yards.
Just
but we
imagine
didn't try.
doubling.
And it was square toe. It was the old square toe kicker kind of thing.
What's the guy with the half a foot? Tom Dempsey, the old Tom Dempsey style. Had a club foot, kick it 64 yards.
Yeah, exactly. Just going down the list here. Tennessee got knocked off by Florida.
Yep.
Michigan looked good, 31-6 Bowling Green. Michigan State gets hammered by Washington. Wow.
Washington's good, man. Washington's good.
41-7.
I'll tell you,
Tech.
the Pac-12 is loaded. Like
Texas.
Oregon's going to beat Colorado by at least 20 next week, maybe 30. And it's not even going to be close. Oregon's going to just run them right to the Nike gift shop and say, get your stuff and get out of here.
I didn't watch any of it, but Colorado State 43-35.
I watched that game last night because it was on after Nebraska out here.
Yeah.
And what a dumb decision by Norelli, the coach for Colorado State. Colorado's losing by 8. They pin them on the 2-yard line in regulation, and they run down the field and they score a touchdown, and they get the 2-point conversion to tie the game instead of overtime. So Colorado gets the ball in overtime, runs down the field again, and because it's a shorter field, and gets the extra point. Colorado State runs right into the end zone. So what do? They kick the extra point. It's like, this team has battered you in the fourth quarter in an overtime, and you're going to give them the ball again? It's like, go for 2. If you lose, you lose. You die on your sword. If you win, it's over. It's like, go for 2. These coaches sometimes, it's like, I get it. It's very exciting. It's hard to, it's in hindsight, it's 2020. But I was sitting there thinking, go for 2. Go for 2. They're tired. You got the ball. You got the end. Go for 2. And they kick the extra point. And then Colorado comes down, another touchdown, and the 2-point conversion. You have to go for 2. And then they get a penalty, and they mess up on their last drive. And Colorado wins. It was awful.
Was there a pregame fight in that game, Bob?
I don't know. I think so. There was some sort of brouhaha about somebody standing on the Buffalo. I'm like, listen, the Buffalo is gigantic. It goes from the 40 to the 40 cry. It's like, just get used to the fact that people are going to step on it. Now, if they're like taking a dump on it or something, that's one thing. But, if they're just kicking whatever, it's like, calm down. You just got there.
So let's look at the rest of the Big Ten. Just okay.
We have one more thing to talk about this game.
Okay.
This gets its own headline.
I'm waiting.
This was the worst beat of the season so far. Because, as you know, you picked Nebraska and the under. Which is why we don't gamble.
Yeah.
And so you're watching it. It's like 31-3. You're like, this is great. There's 5 minutes left. And it's great. The ball's down the 10-yard line.
That last touchdown.
And they march down the field. 5 seconds left. 5 seconds left to throw a touchdown pass. And it's the over. And so it's like,
The good news is you can't bet on the apps here in Minnesota, so I did not make the bet.
That is very good news. You can't do it in California either, and I would have been losing my mind had I made that bet. And I was like, oh boy, I'm glad I didn't make that bet. That's why we don't. That's why we shouldn't bet, because we stink at it. We're a fan. So we root for the team.
All right, let's talk about just really quickly the rest of the Big Ten, because there's some interesting stuff here. Maryland beat Virginia 42-14, so Maryland's going to be good. Louisville took out Indiana, both unranked. Wisconsin was tied with Georgia Southern last time. So remember, we were at the Georgia Southern game last year.
Oh, that's when all the crap went down. Georgia Southern, Clay Helton.
Yeah. So we got to meet Trev Alberts that day. 18 hours later, Scott Frost gets fired. So George came up and was like, Dad, Georgia Southern's tied with Wisconsin at halftime. But Wisconsin clearly put them away to finish 35-14. Penn State, we already said 30-13 over Illinois. Iowa looked pretty good over Western Michigan, 41-10. Rutgers, 35-16 over Tech, Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
call Uncle Mark.
I think
Uncle Mark is going to have to get a call.
They got to beat. I think them Hokies had a tough game yesterday.
I'll tell you what, my Hokies.
Them Hokies. I don't know what happened. Them boys from New Jersey came in with some swamp rats and some night fights and some Bruce Springsteen. The next thing you know, we lose the game. How that happened?
We're gonna have to have Uncle Mark on at some point.
Yeah, Shiano's 3-0. Good for him.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah. So Rutgers is looking good. Minnesota took it on the chin down in North Carolina.
Yep.
Duke's looking good this year. Ranked 21st, 38-14 over Northwestern. Boy, the league kind of took some pounding. Syracuse beats Purdue 35-20. So Michigan, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Maryland all won their games, but so we had some losses in the league. All right. Well, listen, Northern Illinois is in the books. The Matt Rhule era continues to take shape. Very, very encouraged by the defense and special teams and the improvement in the offense this week. And we will see you midweek with a prediction for the Louisiana Tech game. And that's all she wrote. Go Big Red.
Go Big Red!